What is going on, everybody, and welcome back to a Fortnight on the IO, where I cover everything that has been going on in my life essentially for the last couple weeks, and then kind of outline at least a little bit of what's going on over the next couple weeks. For IRL Talk, first things first is you get to see the new background. This is the first video on the main channel that is actually showing off the new background. There's obviously a couple things about it that still need to be changed. I need to fix and update a little bit of the coloring on my camera in the new setup, so it's a little bit more full, because the last video that I tried to record with this on my second channel, which was a Final Fantasy 16 demo playthrough, which I really enjoyed doing, by the way, that video I noticed that my face cam was a little bit more washed out, a little bit more white, just overall like hazy. It wasn't hazy per se, but in editing, sometimes I have to dehaze the footage so that there's not so much of like a white sheen on it. And on my camera filter at the moment, I can actually see that that's probably what's going to be looking like on the camera as is right here. I'm just going to have to deal with it for now. That's something that I still need to update for the future videos. A couple other things that I still need to update with my lights and where they're positioned and stuff. But for the most part, I am in the new setup. Welcome to the new background. I actually really like it. I'm rather happy with it. I still got the bears in the background for all of you heathens who would riot without them making an appearance. Get some of the bookshelves as well, but also have a little bit of like the blue from the walls in the background again as well, which I'm really excited to have again for some reason. And just, you know, generally I think it looks overall pretty decent. I think at this point I'm going to explore a little bit and see what it looks like if I go ahead and flip my camera the other direction and see if that's technically correct. Yeah, I believe this is technically the correct position for you guys to be looking at. Yeah, because now you can actually see the books on the shelves back there. Before, it was mirrored. But either way, yeah, this is kind of what things look like. I'm rather happy with the new setup. But other than being busy with work as per usual, a bit more than I used to be, obviously, as I've discussed in previous videos, and I think I might have talked about a little bit last week, life's been overall pretty good. I'm a little bit tired, but life's been pretty good, and I'm very happy about that. With that being said, let's go ahead and get right into the bi-weekly reading, what I have been reading. First off, let's just get it out of the way. I did continue Empire of Sounds just as normal, although if I'm remembering correctly, I think I only got like 2 or 3 chapters of this read this fortnight, so not very much at all. There's a couple reasons for that. One, because I've been busy reading a lot of other stuff, which we will cover here in just a second, and also because this book is easily my least favorite of the series. I don't dislike it, but it's very much the slowest. It's the one that has the most build-up, or not necessarily the most build-up, just the longest build-up, I should say. It just takes a long time to do what it's doing. That's not necessarily a bad thing. Don't take that as a dig. This is my favorite series ever and has my favorite book of all time. The series does. But it's definitely probably going to be it was the most difficult on my first read, and I suspect will probably be the most difficult overall for my reread to get through. But yeah, I'm continuing this. I'm hoping to get this done early in July if I can, so potentially by the next weekly update, if possible. The next thing that I did get through was I finished Robinson Crusoe, which I thought was a pretty good book. I think it holds up really well for its age, considering that it's 300 years old. It's definitely a pretty good book. It's not super exciting per se. A lot of it is more of a monologue type of narration style, and also in how it's structured. It's not quite so much action and dialogue, you know, what most people in most books are writing and reading anymore, and that's fine. Like, this was a very early era novel, and for what it's doing, it was quite successful for me. It wasn't standout or a masterpiece or anything like that, but it was absolutely successful in most of what it was trying to do, and when I review that here at some point in a couple months, whenever it is that I'm able to get a chance to do that, hopefully sooner than later, I will also go into a little bit of an explanation to have on the channel itself of why my channel name is the way it is, because that's kind of a fun story to go into. Beyond Robinson Crusoe and the little bit that I read of Empire of Sounds, I did finish Malice. Now, I was thinking that this was going to take me through the rest of the weekend, if not longer, to finish, but I did get it finished today. I decided to buckle down on it so that I could have it finished for this weekly update, and I'm going to have some thoughts on this one when I do an actual review for it. I need to get a brief written review out there and then also record a video review to come out, I don't know, at some point in a couple months or something like that, whenever it is that I get time for it, because over the course of this month, there are a couple reviews coming out that I wasn't expecting to come out, / wasn't expecting to come out as early. So this book was going to be reviewed in like Book Binge episode like 92 or 91 or something like that, maybe 95, I can't remember, like relatively soon, all things considered, but now it's pushed back much further beyond that. It might be episode 102 or something like that anymore. Either way, it's being pushed back a little bit, but my thoughts on the book itself are a little bit more mixed. I don't dislike it. In fact, I actually respect and really enjoy a lot of the little independent aspects of what John Quinn's trying to do and respect the ambition of it, but a lot of the execution was really messy, including just how much is going on for this first book. It feels almost as if it should have been 2 books, but would not have made sense if it was 2 books, especially since a lot of the things that it's doing are like different plot lines joining together and separating at a couple different points, to the point that having it be 2 different books wouldn't have worked. But it is a lot. It is so much. It is very overwhelming for a first book in a series. And I know some people who have recommended this series as like, a sort of early on beginner fantasy series, or beginning like, a first time epic fantasy series or something like that. And I'm just going to say it, after just first book 1 impressions, I would not recommend Faithful and the Fallen for a first time fantasy reader, because that is overwhelming as heck. But the other book that I have been reading as of recent was The Prophet of Edan by Philip Chase, book 2 of the Edan trilogy. I've been very much enjoying my time with it. I believe where this bookmark is correct, chapter 9, about a third of the way through. I read all of that third actually before the book actually released, and therefore before I even got the physical copy. This is one of the first times that I'm actually holding up the physical copy of this book, because I've been reading it from an e-arc that Philip Chase actually provided me. Big thank you to Philip for providing me with that to get a head start on the book. Sorry that I read too slow to have been able to plow all the way through. Now, if I wasn't reading Robinson Crusoe and Malice at the same time when he offered this to me, I probably would have just gone ahead and read through as much as possible and been like, pretty close to finishing the book, if not finished with it by the time it released, but that's just not going to happen. So now this is going to be what I'm working on primarily for the foreseeable future. And just as the case with The Way of Edan, I think the cover does look better in person. Like, it genuinely just does look better in person than it does over screen. Whether you're looking at it on here or pictures from other stuff. There's the back cover as well. I'm very much enjoying it. The stuff that it is doing so far, I think, are going to make for a very exciting second book in a trilogy, and a second book that will most likely not suffer from any form of middle book syndrome, which I'm very excited to see if he sticks the landing with this part of the trilogy. And then, of course, I will be excited to finish it later and have a discussion with him later this year. Obviously, more on that as those times come. Next up, let's talk about the bi-weekly writing as usual. Now recently, I know in the last few updates, I haven't actually been showing you a little bit of the stuff that's been going on with this on screen. So this time around, I am actually going to switch over and do that for you guys. So let me move over so I'm a little bit better in frame. So this is where I am currently at. So stage 3, which is the outlining stage of The Reign of Ash. I have finished the first book, Silent Reign. It is complete stage 3 for the first book, 1 of 19. So I ended off at 11,637 words, 59 scenes, and yeah, it turned out being really good. So I got about 116% of my word target. So I'm very happy with that. At the moment, like, this is what it's currently looking at for the whole sequence. I have 33% of the scenes for Silent Reign done, obviously, because I did one of the 3 books. And then for word percentage, I'm at about 39% of the total projected, or target word count, I should say, for the trilogy, which, works for me. But let's show you a little bit more here on daily tracking. This is actually kind of what some of the stuff looks like as of recent. So you'll see, like, back from whenever this month was, April, when I was actually starting to finish up a little bit of that stage 2 of pre-writing and doing stuff like that. You can see all of these totals, all that complicated stuff, and then some of the stuff that I was doing last month in May, including these last couple days here on May 25th and 26th, this was actually when I started doing the outlining for Silent Rain. There might have been these 2 days here when I did it as well, because I know these 2 days I was writing a blog for the Wave, or for Take Me Back to Eden by Sleep Token. This was outlining up here in June. This was writing a blog for a review of Life is But a Dream by Avenged Sevenfold. That both of those blogs are on the second channel as audio visualizers. I recommend you check those out. But then these other two numbers here are what I was able to write this week for the outline. You'll see a lot of zeros. There are a lot of days that I don't manage to get time to write anything, but when I do, I tend to get a relatively significant chunk done, like as much as I can possibly get done with all my brain power. That's kind of the way that it goes. So my weekly tracking, this is kind of what it's been since the start of May. I don't want to do that, actually. I didn't mean to do that. I just wanted to do this. So just kind of show you the total of what I've gotten so far this year. I know I have weekly trackers going up for a very long time in the future. That's just so I'd never have to build it out again in the future. But yeah, that's kind of where things are going. I've been relatively consistent with how many words I've gotten done each week. So I'm happy with that. Let's go ahead and switch back over here. And actually, even beyond just finishing this first outline, I actually printed it out. So I have a little, binded manuscript sort of thing going on in essentially manuscript format of this outline as well, for my personal notes and for my personal reference. So I'm going to go through and basically highlight all the names of characters, places, certain specific objects in the rare case, so that I can actually go through and mark them up and get stuff noted down in my document. Because while I was writing the outline, I made the mistake to not start immediately going down and creating files for all, or creating pages for all of the characters and places and stuff, so that if I forgot something while I was trying to do something in the outline, I could just quickly go through and look in that folder for, the stuff and find what I'm looking for and be able to remember it without having to Control F and search around and try to find it somewhere in the document. Either way, yeah, that's what I'm going to go through. I'm going to go through and, maybe change a minor thing here or there, like note that, but especially like highlight some of those things so that I can make documents for them. And then, maybe by the end of the month, like end of next week, next Friday or something like that, I'll be starting with Halfway Hollow, the second book of the trilogy, and getting that started to outline. I'm very excited for that. I'm very excited in general. Like, I've just been really enjoying this whole thing. Normally when I start doing any type of project like this, after a few months, I'm like kind of burnt out and done with it. No, I did a few months of those initial summaries and expanded summaries, and that took a lot out of me. Took a little bit of a break before I started outlining. Outline was a really great time. So I'm very excited to continue with that. But I know I've been talking about this a little bit too long, but I did want to note a couple things and a little bit more of the statistics. You saw a couple of things that I just showed on screen a little bit ago, but I will just go ahead and add, like, I did write those 2,500 words for that blog, so that was what I got done the last couple weeks. But generally, the last couple weeks, I got about 60, that's not the right term. 16 isn't even the right term. I got 6,000 words added to the Reign of Ash sequence, essentially, between the writing and the brief summary portions. What I mean by that is the actual parts 4 and 5, because it's split into 5 parts. Parts 4 and 5 together were about 5,000 words split between them. And then I had the extra 1,000-ish words and little tiny summary portions that I put in each one that were like, okay, this little sentence is basically what this scene is doing, and then I expanded it into the couple hundred words that it would become. So that was something that I was doing. So yeah, that was kind of what it looked like. A couple weeks ago, I did mention that I predicted that part 5 of the Silent Rain's outline would be the longest. It turned out being the second shortest. So what happened was part 1 is just under, it's between 2,400 and 2,500 words. Part 2 is just under 2,500 words, like barely not. Part 3 is just under 1,700 words, so that one's the shortest, but it also has the least amount of scenes. And then part 4 is just under 2,700 words. That one's the longest. And then part 5 is 2,300 words, so second shortest, like I said. But they're all relatively consistent in terms of their length. Parts 1, 2, 4, and 5 are all 13 scenes each. And then part 3 is, like 7 scenes or something like that. So part 3 is actually the shortest part by a significant margin. But yeah, that's just kind of how it worked out. Total, like I said, 11,600 words. 1 out of 19 of the books done. I'm pretty much on track with my progress. As long as I continue to do one a month for until I finish, I should be able to be done with all of the outlines by the end of 2024, which is the goal. Hopefully I don't get behind on that, as this one did take a little over a month, but I was also doing a lot of other stuff with like moving and rearranging and, this kind of stuff. So as long as nothing too crazy like that goes down over the next couple years, I should theoretically be able to get these 19 done by the end of next year. And based off of my writing pace, I think I should be able to do that. I'm not going to 100% guarantee it, because that's a long way in the future to try to guarantee something like that, but it would be really nice. But now that I've been talking about this for way too long, let me just quickly just go right through the coming releases. So on the main channel, on the 27th, this Tuesday, will be a review of The Card Turner by Louis Satcher. This Thursday will be a not necessarily a discussion video, just kind of a, me talking at the camera, doing a video called Why I Review Just About Every Book I Read. So that was a fun video that I honestly had fun recording that. Then this coming Sunday, so next week on the 2nd of July, will be my June wrap up, so the state of affairs for the month. That one will be a pretty cool wrap up. I'm actually really excited about that. Again, just like I said last month, like it'll be pretty cool to go over some of those statistics. I'm actually really, really, really happy about how a lot of that went down. The next Tuesday on the 4th of July, happy early 4th of July to you Americans as well, will be just as normal on the first Tuesday of the month. My June reading wrap up and July TBR, that is also going to be a rather crazy video, especially, just considering everything that I've read, but also because I'm going to try to cut back on my reading over the next couple months if I can, because I would like to get more writing done, but I also just want to game again. Like it's been these summer times, both last year and the year before that and this year, when I've been like in a gaming mood and just want to do that. I don't really want to work on anything else. So that's what I'm honestly probably going to be doing for the next month. Quite frankly, the next couple months really is trying to do a lot of gaming and not quite reading or working on this other stuff quite as much. Like still getting everything done that I need to, of course, but I would like to game some. More on that in a little bit. Then, of course, next Thursday on July 6th will be my Wheel of Time Diary number 6, because July is when I will be starting reading The Great Hunt, which is right up there. You can see it right in frame. The second book of the Wheel of Time. I'm very excited to start that. I loved Eye of the World. I'm very excited to start the second book and, kind of start doing my reading diaries on those, because I had a ton of fun with those videos and they had a great reception. I'm very surprised by how many people tuned in for those and commented and just appreciated my thoughts. So I appreciate everybody who actually watched those, like, a lot. So thank you to all of you guys. But of course, there will also be videos on my second channel. There will be 5 videos coming out on my second channel over this next 2 weeks, just as there were 5 videos over on my main channel over the next couple weeks. So first off, I believe this is for tomorrow, the 26th. Yeah, I mentioned that Final Fantasy 16 demo. Yeah, I recorded a video 2.5 hours long playing through that demo. That is going to come out tomorrow on the second channel, which is linked in the description below if you are interested. On the 28th, so on Wednesday, will be the second video of my Remnant from the Ashes Let's Play. This time I'm actually joined by Josh after having completed the tutorial, where Josh and I start playing through the game. Our first time each doing a co-op run. And, him learning the game for the first time as well, because this is one of my favorite games. I love it. Then on the 30th, on Friday, will be Kingdom Hearts 1 Final Mix video number 5. Nobody's watching those, and that's perfectly fine. Like, don't feel obligated to. They're not good. I just have them uploading because of archival purposes. Next Wednesday, on July 5th, will be Remnant from the Ashes number 3. I've got both of those uploaded at the moment. I actually need to get their thumbnails made as soon as I can. If I don't get too busy playing games, I definitely need to get those thumbnails made so that they can actually upload. And then on the 7th will be Kingdom Hearts 1 number 6. So that's everything that I have coming out over the next couple weeks. If you're interested in any of that, I hope you check those videos out. Finally, let me just wrap up relatively quickly, I hope. Yeah, with entertainment talk before this video gets to be like 50,000 years long. Finally, I did get to play Tears of the Kingdom again for the first time in over a month. Last weekend, I played about 13 or so hours of the game. It was great. It felt good to get back to it because I did play for like 9 hours, 2 days after the game came out. The weekend after that, I tried to play again, and I was on it for a few minutes, and it just wasn't working. And I decided to do writing instead because that was what I was in the mood for. I got to play it again last weekend and had a great time, and would like to play it soon. Got through another major portion of the game, one of the first dungeons. So Josh and I, whenever we can, possibly next week, we'll be trying to record another one of those Zelda Talks podcast-like episodes at some point to talk about that. So that will be rather exciting. Also, just as I mentioned before, I got to play the Final Fantasy 16 demo. I had a very good time with it. I'm very excited for the game, generally speaking. In fact, the game is released now. At the time of this video's release, I've probably been binging it all weekend and will be binging it the rest of the weekend. So that's what I'm going to be doing. Like, as soon as this video's done, and I'm going to edit it tonight, even though normally I edit them in the morning, I'm just going to get it done and rendered and started uploading so that basically as soon as I wake up tomorrow, I can read a chapter or two of my book, come in here, and just play the game all day. So that's what I'm looking forward to. Legitimately, I had a really good time for the demo. Really excited to play the rest of the game. And I'm also excited for next month when Remnant 2 comes out. I suspect that I'll be no-lifing that just because I loved the gameplay loop of the first game. That's why Josh and I are playing it. And I'm very excited for the second game. And Josh and I are probably going to play that as well. Probably for a Let's Play to come out on the channel like immediately following essentially our playthrough of the first game. Because, yeah, that's just kind of how things are going to go. But this video has been way too long. Thank you to anybody who did watch through the whole thing. I really appreciate you. You are very cool. Thank you guys for watching. If you did, I'll be back on Tuesday with that review that I mentioned of The Card Turner, which is a book that I love. So even though you probably don't know it, I hope that you'll watch it just because I really love that book. It's got a special place in my heart for nostalgia reasons. Just, it's one of my favorite books, one of the books I've read the most. So I hope you'll check that out. Otherwise, I'll be back in whatever videos next up after that and all that kind of stuff. Stay tuned for my monthly update next week as well for a bunch of other exciting, wrap-up kind of news. So that is kind of what's going on. Thank you guys for watching again. I'll be back in the next video.